In this video, we are going to discuss 4 critical diagrams or position or games that is going to be very essential in order to improve your middle game understanding or your psychological understanding in a game of chess, and how to push your own agenda in the game of chess. This video is going to be extremely critical if you want to learn anything about middle game, if you want to improve your middle game, or if you want to improve your psychological perspectives in the game of chess. So without any further ado, let's quickly jump into the 4 diagrams. But before starting the video, I'm having a request. If you are new to our channel, then make sure to like the video, share this video with everyone, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. It is free for you, but it helps us to motivate to make videos like this. So now let's quickly jump into the 4 diagrams. So coming to the first diagram, we have the game. It is basically we are going to look this game from the black side. White plays knight f3, we play knight c6, d4, e5. This is a game which happened. Queen e7, g3, takes, bishop g2, c6, knight f6. White side has to play maybe bishop b2, c4 is fine, but white played the move queen d4, which is very logical. You are hitting the knight. So d6, rook d1, trying to hit the pawn on d6. And now there are many players who try to keep the bishop on f8, trying to defend the pawn on d6, and now playing a move like bishop d7 and try to play slowly, or maybe try to look for something like trading of the knights and then playing d5, then only trying to play bishop g7, like after takes, and then playing d5, trying to play bishop g7 short castle. But here bishop to g7 played by black, saying that if you try to capture, I can simply take, and here knight e4 is a strong move, and when the rook move, we can simply move the knight and try to hit the rook, and this position is already better for black. So knight takes, and here knight to d7 by black. It is a blunder, but a very logical approach by black, at the place of playing right in the hands of white, like capturing the knight and playing right into the hands of white, like white plays queen d2, and basically it's a very direct chess. But knight to d7 is indeed a very interesting. Black is saying that I want to hit the queen. You cannot move the knight because the queen is angry. So here there's the only way that white can get a better position, but he has to think very concretely in order to get the right answer. In the game, what happened in the game here is white accepted that maybe there is nothing. So white played the move c3, which resulted after bishop into e5, and it's an equal position, and the bishop is actually very happy on e5. So it's a good position for black. But what was the best idea in this particular position was to capture on c6, which is very interesting. Bishop takes queen, knight takes queen, bishop takes rook, and now there are 2 critical options in the position. If white tries to capture the bishop in this position, for example after knight into c8, there is rook into c8, knight a3, b6, trying to protect the b7, because here after b6, if black tries to short castle, white can simply grab up the pawn, and now black is 2 pawns up. White is 2 pawns up. So b6, c4, short castle, knight b5, and black is a pawn. White is a pawn up, I guess. White is having 7 pawns, black is having 6 pawns, and the black pawns are extremely weak, so white is already having a better position. But in order to get so, white must find the move knight into c6, which is a very critical move. Knight to d7 is also very interesting. But in order to get this move wrong, white needs to find the move knight into c6. So telling from the black's perspective, basically black is not giving the car wheel to the opponent, but keeping the car wheel, keeping the car in his control, and trying to drive. Basically trying to push his agenda of the game. He wants to control the game. And after here, if the knight goes to d5, short castle, c3, trying to trap the bishop, knight b6, knight c7, rook b8, bishop h6. Here, white is already better. But okay, that's the point. White must need to find the concrete way to get a better position. So basically, the point of this particular diagram here is, if you begin with I can't or any kind of fear, then the mental or emotional battle is over before it begins. In order to find knight into c6, you must believe that there is something then only you can find the move knight into c6, because in the game, white simply accepted that maybe knight to d7 is right, so he simply played the move c3. And black is way better. Like, black played the move knight d7 because he wanted to say to the white opponent that he is controlling the game. That's the point. So this was the first position. So now let's quickly jump into the second position. Coming to the second position, it's again a game. White plays the move e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop to b5, e6, bishop takes, pawn takes, short castle, d5, d3, knight e7, knight c3, knight g6, queen e2, bishop e7, rook b1, short castle, b3, bishop a6, knight f4, and here we have the move c4, dc4, and here we have dc4, and here we have rook to d1. So in this position, white played the move rook d1, which was not a good move. The best move in this position would have been to play the move knight to b2, and simply try to capture the c4 pawn. Black cannot capture the pawn as the queen is hanging on on e2. But black cannot capture the pawn because the bishop is hanging on a6. My fault. So that's the point. But what white thought here is, like, let's play the move rook g1. Try to get a free tempo by attacking the queen, and once the queen moves, you can play the move knight b2, and basically you get this rook d1 as a free move. But it's not until it's over. Okay, like a normal player would be like, okay, the queen is attacked, so now let's try to move the queen. And the idea of rook g1, white is thinking that black will move the queen, but black surprised the opponent by playing the move c into b3. Saying that if you try to capture the bishop, you are losing your rook. And if you try to capture the queen, I can simply capture your queen. I can simply capture a queen as well. And after rook takes, king takes, it's a fine position for black. So white played the move c4, saying that, okay, I'm still attacking the queen. Now move the queen. What black is like, no, I'm still not going to move my queen. I'm going to attack your queen again. You cannot capture the bishop because again the rook is hanging. So white moved the queen, and black is like, still I'm not going to move my queen. Here comes the move b into a2. You can, if you try to capture my queen, I'm going to simply capture a rook and make a new queen and eventually winning the game. So white was forced to move the rook, and now finally black moved its queen, but it's too late now. Black is just white is having 4 pawns, black is having 7 pawns, 3 pawns advantage, and eventually winning the game. So basically, black is completely winning now. As black did not move his queen, I took the brave decision of counter-attacking insist, just moving the queen at the beginning, after rook g1, which happened in the game. After rook g1, just let me take you to the quickly up. After rook g1, black decided to not move the queen but simply counter-attack. That's the point of pushing your own agenda. That's the meaning of psychological meanderings. So this was the second diagram, try to push our own agenda. So now let's quickly jump into the third diagram. In the third diagram, we have a game against a very classic game, Capablanca versus Marshall, played in 1925 in Moscow. Capablanca with white pieces started with 1 knight f3, Marshall played the move knight f6, c4, e6. And we have a standard opening, which is English opening, short castle, bishop e7, d3, short castle, bishop e2, d3, e4, pawn takes, knight g4, queen e2, bishop f6, knight c3, queen a5, rook c1, rook d1, h3, knight to e5. So after knight to e5, in this position, black is already putting pressure on the pawn on d3. So a normal move would be to try to react to by simply developing the rook by playing the move rook d1, trying to protect the pawn on d3. But that's not what Capablanca used to play and became one of the world's best. What he did was he pushed his own agenda. He picked the move knight to e4. He's saying, like, if you want to capture my d3 pawn, you're very welcome to capture the pawn, but I'm going to go with my agenda, at the place of defending against your agenda. Black's idea is to capture the pawn. It's not like white is going to protect the pawn, but he's going to create his own threat by trying to hit the bishop. White can also try to capture this knight as well after bishop into knight, pawn takes, rook into f7. A very interesting line. Takes, queen h5 check, takes, rook d7, rook f1, and knight to e4. Whereas white is an exchange down, but having a full compensation for the exchange. But okay, knight to e4 played by Capablanca, which is the best move. After queen into a2, we have knight into pawn into. If black tries to capture the pawn on d3, white can already try to capture the bishop. Takes, knight takes the rook takes, queen c7, king h2, pawn push, rook f1, where white is completely winning the game, just moving the knight and trying to get the queen, and like the king is extremely weak. That's the point. So queen into a2 was played by Marshall. Knight into the bishop, pawn takes, knight into, bishop e4, bishop d7, rook a1, queen into b3, rook b1, and after queen b4, bishop into, pawn into, the queen is hanging. So white simply captured the queen, takes, and eventually this particular endgame is simply winning. And like after 29 move, Marshall resigned the game. And after the game, Capablanca said that after queen into b3, he found even a better continuation, which was bishop into knight, pawn into, queen g4 check, king move, rook into pawn, king into, queen g5, very instructive move, very dynamic move, trying to take away the squares of the king, rook come, bishop takes, trying to give some checks, check, 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 takes, check, check, and eventually this position is completely winning. The f7 rook is hanging and the position is completely winning. So this was what Capablanca thought during the game, but he thought this is the cleanest idea to win this particular position. The queen was hanging and he went on to win the game. A very interesting and a very instructive game played by Capablanca. Like from the very moment of this knight e4 idea. If he would have played the move rook d1, the game would have simply turned into the way of black, but he kept the control, pushed his own agenda, and he won the game against Marshall in a beautiful way. So this was the third diagram, very critical. So now coming to the fourth diagram, we have this position where white is currently hitting the rook on c8 and the pawn on a6. And any player would think from playing from the black side that okay, both the pieces are hanging, so now let's try to move the rook and try to give up the pawn, and eventually it would be a draw. But if you want to win, you must believe in the position. The correct mental stance would be a solution from yourself. I must defend both units, both the rook and the pawn, or create play elsewhere that will sidetrack him. I must. You should be motivated to do so. If you are not motivated to do so, you won't be able to find the correct answer to do so. You must be motivated. So what is the correct way to continue in this position if you're playing with the black pieces? Queen to c4, beautiful. Protecting the pawn as well as the rook. So what white did was capture the pawn on b6. But now came the move, queen to h4 check. g3, the only move, or else the rook is going to slide in and just game over. Queen takes, check, 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 check. And it's a mate. So this was a beautiful diagram, a very short diagram, but the most beautiful one. Basically it shows that you must keep the mental strength, that you must find the answer in the position, in that particular position. If you do not have that mental strength, you won't be able to find the answer. So you must keep the mental strength to do so. So these were the 4 critical diagrams. I think that these diagrams must have helped you to improve your game. If it did, then make sure to like the video, share this video with everyone, and make sure to subscribe to our channel. I'm going to see you soon. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching One Shot Chess.